Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another great edition of The Hit, your podcast for all Saints, Pelicans, LSU, Louisiana sports in general. I am your host, Logan Graffia. He is my great co host, Calvin Rons. And this is just going to be our last show of the year because then after that, we're going on a little Christmas break. But don't worry, we will be back in the new year enough time to discuss that LSU Purdue bowl game, Calvin. But for right now, let's just get right into it. Unbelievably, a happy occasion for us Saints fans, where the Saints narrowly beat the Atlanta Falcons, our division rivals, just this past weekend. And Calvin, I'd be remiss if I didn't say I am pleasantly surprised that the Saints actually won. Now, let's just be honest. You could probably agree with me on this. Drake London doesn't get that ball punched out at the end of that game. We probably lose, right?
Yeah, most likely. This is the way the Saints work. That's usually an L. And of course, a very timely Taysom fumble. It was almost like last year. It was like, oh, fourth quarter game almost on the line. Well, here's a Taysom fumble. I mean, it's kind of funny just how that works.
It looked like he
Okay.
wasn't even ready for the snap. I mean, I was watching it because I was working in Jackson Square and I had to watch it on my phone as I was working. And then we got done setting up for what we was doing in Jackson Square, and I'm watching on my phone. And I'm seeing all this. I'm like, okay, it's 4th and 1. They got Taysom in. I'm telling my coworker he ain't getting this first down. Sure enough, fumbles the snap and the Falcons get it. Turnovers on down, and I'm thinking, okay, this is where we're either going to get like a DPI and get them in field goal range, and Young Way's going to kick them into overtime, and then now we lost. Then sure enough, didn't happen. I still can't believe Drake London had that ball punched out. I mean, I can't remember who punched it out. It might have been Marcus May, if I'm not mistaken. But Saints got the win, Calvin. I'm still pleasantly surprised. I mean, you and I were on the same kick of you know what? I hope we lose out because I want Dennis Allen gone. But Jay Glazer came out with a video today. I don't know if you saw it. I didn't get a chance to talk to my source today. I usually talk to him on Wednesday because that's when news comes out to him and everything else. Jay Glazer was asked if the Saints are going to go through a coaching change, and he said no. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's pretty stupid because I already know what they're going to do. They're gonna give him that excuse of, oh, there's injuries, oh, it's a new coaching staff, kinda, not really, so new stuff. Like, no, I don't want to hear that. um
That's what Jay Glazer said. He gets the benefit of the doubt because of injuries. That's what Jay Glazer kept repeating. He was like, "Oh, Kamara didn't play. Taysom was out for a little bit. You have injuries all across the board." I'm just thinking the same thing.
Last year we
Last year
had
we
the
went out.
same injuries. We had more impactful injuries. I mean, we didn't have Michael Thomas at all, right?
Right.
Obviously Kamara missed 4 games last year. We were rolling with Ian Book as a starter at one point.
Yeah.
That's our third string. Like, he played terrible, and we had really our fourth string because Trevor Simeon, we had him out there for like 3 4 games. Then we had Taysom. Like, it was a the roulette wheel basically of, all right, who's gonna come out here and start today? Who's gonna come from the practice squad today? Our receiving core had guys you've never heard of, guys who were bagging groceries at Walmart that last Friday, and all of a sudden we're like, hey, you wanna come catch some balls for the Saints? Like, yeah, sure. So no, I don't really agree with it. I think this has to be a situation where you cut your losses and you realize, all right, I messed up. It's like David Griffin did. That's the
Hmm.
biggest thing to me that saved David Griffin, and why I got a lot of respect for him, because he looked himself in the mirror and said, I thought this was going to be good hiring Stan Van Gundy, but it wasn't. This was terrible. I need to fire this man. This is not the way. And the season wasn't, with the Pelicans at the time, the season wasn't an absolute failure. I mean, we didn't have like the worst record or anything. Like, it was just kind of like a normal Pelican season for us, but that still wasn't enough. And coach was like, yeah, I get it. This is your first year, but nah, we're not doing that. Um, So I think that's exactly what needs to happen here.
Hmm.
Uh, but Mickey Loomis at this point in time just seems to me like he's making more wrong moves than good as of late, and I'm starting to get really concerned because I understand the power that Mickey Loomis has, and Mickey Loomis is probably never going to get fired from this organization. Um, I mean, the guy is almost as important as Miss Benson at this point. He's just one. He's like a Jerry Jones at this point. Like you can't really get rid of him, and
You
he's not.
really can't.
So it's really difficult to even like combat him really and be like, hey, you need to do this or this is gonna happen. Like,
This is why
so,
I mean I'm in agreement with you. I mean, we've had this discussion before. I mean, have Mickey kind of take that step up into the front office, relinquish the GM role, and kind of give it to Jeff Ireland, or if you ask me personally, give it to Kai Harley, because I know if he goes off somewhere, he's going to build a tremendous team. I mean, losing Kai Harley would be absolutely awful. So you want to keep that guy around, and I mean, as you're seeing, he's put himself into a program to actually make his name, I think, better known in the hiring cycles. I mean, he's trying to increase his chances of getting hired as a GM. So if I'm the Saints, if I'm Gail, I'm Dennis Lauscher, I'm Mickey, I'm saying I'm looking myself in the mirror saying, we really don't want to lose Kai Harley. He's been so great for us over the years. So okay, Mickey, we're gonna put you in the ownership group as like vice president or whatever role they want to give him. Just we're gonna promote Kai Harley to GM because we don't want to lose this guy. Because if it wasn't for Kai Harley, we would probably would have got out a lot of the cap. I mean, a lot of cap situations. Because if you think about it, when we hired Mickey Loomis over from, I think it was from Seattle, he was a cap guy. That's why we hired Mickey Loomis, because he was a cap guy. And Kai Harley is probably one and the same. He's a cap guy. And he's also on the younger side. So, I mean, he'd probably be here for a long time. So, if you ask me, I think it's time for maybe Mickey to move up. And, I mean, as for the Dennis Allen thing, I literally was told if in order for him to get fired, he has to lose out. But I mean, there's 1-3 finishing out the season, 1-3 just with 5 wins. I mean, come on now. I mean, there's a lot of good things on this team. I mean, we still have Kamara. I mean, Rashid Shaheed has been tremendous. I mean, undrafted free agent. You and I both was like, why isn't he on the roster after even training camp? I came back after watching him in the dome practice I went to, and I'm just like, why is this guy not on the 53? I even said that about Kirk Merritt, but we haven't seen a ton of Kirk Merritt, but I'm happy he's on the 53. There's a ton of talent on here. There's young talent. There's a lot of older talent, but you just got to be able to do something with it. And Dennis Allen's not doing nothing with it. And this is what I also was told. If Dennis Allen stays, Pete Carmichael Jr. is going at the end of the year no matter what. Now, if that doesn't happen, I'll be pleasantly surprised because the plan apparently all along was to give Dennis Allen 2 years. Stupid if you ask me, but because I'm in agreement with everybody. Stan Van Gundy this guy, one and done, and go get you maybe someone like a Shane Steichen or Eric Bieniemy like we should have had. Because what is the product that's in place right now isn't working, and a change needs to happen. Everyone's in agreement. The only thing I can ask and hope for is that if DA does stay around and you do go get a tremendous, maybe young offensive coordinator, innovative, where you move past this old school West Coast offense, because I love the old school West Coast from the 49ers days and everything, but this is
we don't have
past.
Drew.
We don't have Drew. We don't
That's the
have
only
that
way you can run
quarterback.
it.
Drew ran it to perfection. He ran it to perfection like Joe Montana did and Steve Young did back in the 49ers days. It's not working no more. We don't have that quarterback. And if you go get a young kind of minded offensive coordinator, I don't know who that's going to be. They got them everywhere. Maybe you get somebody off the Eagles staff. I think his name's Brian Johnson. He was the OC for Florida that year that Kyle Trask was absolutely looking like a Heisman Trophy winner. I would not mind him at all. But change has to happen because we have a lot of good pieces on this roster still. It's not completely over with yet because everyone's always saying, "Oh, we got a tank." No, we still got good players on this roster. I know a lot of them are kind of on the older, so getting up there in age, but it's not time to tank yet. It really isn't. So, if you
See,
ask me,
this is the problem though with like if you hire a new OC, you can't really go get like a Ben Johnson. I believe that's his name, the Lions guy. You can't go get a Shane Steichen. You can't do that because they're already OCs.
hmm
You can't get an Eric Bahimi. Like them guys are not just gonna go leave their teams. Who right now all those teams are better than us, and they
right.
come here, and there's no upside to that whatsoever unless they know that if they come here, they wait this last year of Dennis Allen. And if Dennis Allen does terrible, gets fired in the middle of the year, bam, they're most likely going to be the interim head
hmm
coach, and then that's their way. I mean, that's probably the only way I can see that playing out. But Mickey Loomis worries me at this point. He's making boneheaded decisions more than usual, and I'm really wondering if he has the ability to adapt and change because he has been here for 20 years, and if you really look at it, in 20 years we have one Super Bowl with him when we should have had more. Now that's not his fault, but there are
No, that's
things
not
that
his fault.
that there are things that should have happened to help that didn't happen. That I believe that if they did happen, we would have won more than one. Um, but I mean, Dennis Allen, and I tweeted this out. I don't understand what goes through these important, high-ranking executives' mind when they make decisions like this. Because if it's me, I'm looking at everything and I'm looking, all right, here's a guy who's 4-28 as a head coach. He's an excellent defensive coordinator, but I'm also looking at how many defensive coordinators are successful as head coaches realistically. Matt
Not
Patricia
many.
was pretty terrible when he became a head coach. Todd Bowles is pretty terrible when he's a head coach. I'm looking at guys like that and I'm like, maybe going the defense coordinator route is a very outdated move because Bill Belichick is probably one of the last great defensive minded coaches that was good. So I wouldn't really want to go that way. And then I'm looking at, all right, well, how about the college offensive gurus? I mean, you got the Arizona guy, I can't remember his name. I can't believe, Cliff Kingsbury, Sean McVay, those guys, they're younger. Even like a Mike McDaniels. I mean, those guys are young and offensive gurus, and they were pretty successful. I mean, Cliff Kingsbury is probably on the verge of getting fired soon. Maybe you look at him. I don't know, but I want something new. But I'm looking at all this playing out. So if it's me, I'm like, why would I even consider a guy who had talent on the Raiders teams and couldn't do anything with it, and is 4-28 as a head coach? I don't see what's going to help this man win more games than that. So and then once the season started, and we're at a point to where we're at the bottom of the division, 4-9, well now 5-9. I'm like, well, this isn't what's supposed to happen. We went 9-8 with more injuries last year. I mean, I don't know if it's
Exactly.
more injuries, but we went 9-8 with a lot of injuries. And the decisions, like the games that we lose, aren't because of the teams are better than us. It's because of coaching. It's been purely coaching. I mean, I don't know how you can look at this product and say, yeah, I could do another year of this. So that's why I don't understand these high-ranking officials and executives. Because I mean, do they not see what we see? And I feel like maybe at this point, Mickey Loomis is just too prideful, and he's too in his own head. And he thinks that he knows better than everybody else, and that he won't make the change because he doesn't want to be wrong. Because he's been so good for so long. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe just a mentality change needs to happen, but this hat needs to go, man. He needs to go.
I agree, and I mean, if they do keep him, like I said, I mean, the one guy that I would love to have as OC. I mean, they can even promote Ronald Curry. I've always loved Ronald Curry. I mean, that's one of the probably best college pro college athletes that's been around. I mean, he played basketball and football. He was pretty damn great at it. But Brian Johnson would be a name I would look at. He's the quarterbacks coach for the Eagles right now, and before he was the quarterbacks coach for the Eagles, he was the OC at Florida when Kyle Trask, like I said, had that Heisman-esque season. He was the offensive coordinator. And plus, Brian Johnson, I'm looking at it, he's 35 years old. He's a former quarterback. He's a former Sugar Bowl MVP when he was playing at Utah. I mean, I remember watching him play, but that would be my name. So yeah, change needs to come. But I'm happy that we got the win against Atlanta. I really am. Even though we almost blew it, but I'm happy that we won. But we got to move on to the only other topic that we have to discuss right now, Calvin, because not really much happened in the college football world. But let's talk about the New Orleans Pelicans for right now, Calvin. They are on a 3-game losing streak, losing to Utah twice in a row, and then losing to the Phoenix Suns, giving up, over 50 points to Devin Booker. But I also would be remiss if I didn't talk about, the free throw disparity because, Monty Williams loves to talk about it when he plays us in New Orleans. So let's talk about it when we play them in Phoenix. Willie Green never criticizes officiating. When he does it in a press conference, it's bad. Because looking back at it, I want to say the Pelicans had what, like 10 to 11 free throws, Calvin? And the Phoenix Suns had what, over 30 free throw attempts?
Devin
What's
Booker
wrong?
had more free throws by himself than the whole Pelicans team.
That's ridiculous. Because you got to think about it. I agree with what CJ said in his press conference. Zion's not getting a fair calls. He's not. And you got to think about it. It's like CJ said also. Zion doesn't shoot outside the paint. Zion lives in the paint like Shaq did. What's wrong with this pitcher? He gets banged up all the time. I get it. He's big. They giving him the Shaq treatment. Understandable, but you gotta call the freaking calls, right?
Zion's a guy who should be taking 10 to 15 free throws a game. He just
Maybe
is.
more.
It may be more than that, honestly. And I'm watching the game, and I see Devin Booker taking these pull-up middies, which, number one, I don't know why it took so long for Willie Green to adjust. And that's the thing, like with these Willie Green losses, they're bad, like extremely bad coaching. It's like very bad lapses in judgment. And that's, and, I see people talking about, oh, you need to fire him. No, he's a young guy. He's good. Like, you see the potential in him. He just needs to figure stuff out like that, like when to do certain stuff. Because you still see instances where he's really bad at it, like that. At that point, once Devin Booker hit like 40 points, maybe even 35, guess what I'm doing? I'm denying him the ball. I'm putting Herb Jones. We put Jose Alvarado on him. Why was Herb Jones not on him? I get it. They're switching and all that, but I'm telling him right now in the huddle, hey, Herb, you're on him. If there's a screen, you stay under it, or you stay over it. My bad. And you stay on Devin Booker. No switching off of Devin Booker. Everybody else can rotate, switch, whatever, but it's no switching off of Devin Booker. Herb, you're on him. Or Dyson, you're on him. Jose's not. He's just too short to be on Devin Booker. That shouldn't have been the case. He shouldn't have been on him. And no, we didn't deny him the ball. We just kept letting him get to his spots off of screens and off of dribbles. We couldn't do that. We shouldn't have done that. So I think Willie was very bad in that regard, that he did not make the adjustment to deny Devin Booker the ball until it was too late. The game was already tied by the time he decided, oh, let me start denying him the ball, and let me start maybe double teaming him, trapping him. Let me keep Herb on him. Let me stop having people switch off of Devin Booker and just keep Herb. It took way too long to figure that out, and I don't know why. The team, even with the Utah games, I don't understand what it is about the Suns and the Jazz and why they get so many calls their way. I don't understand it, especially because the Jazz have Kelly Olynyk, who's flopping at every second that he can. And
he's walking on sunshine every freaking play. It's like he's walking it out, Calvin. The song
he's taking
"Walk It Out" was
15
about
steps.
Kelly Olynyk.
It's wild. Like, we thought LeBron James was bad at it years ago when he was traveling all the time. And he fixed it. But Kelly Olynyk is the biggest flopper in the league right now. And I thought that flopping was deemed illegal, but it just seems like they don't care. He's walking, and even with the Suns game, right? Jock Landale is doing the same things that Jonas Valanciunas has to do to get a rebound or to get open in the paint and get a shot up. And Jock's fine, but then when Jonas does it, it's a foul, offensive foul, and I'm like, all right,
I hate that.
This is not okay. And I would have loved to see Willie Green get ejected from the middle of this game, because at some point it's just too much. I probably would have got ejected because
he was one tech away from getting ejected. He got a tech thrown on him because when Willie gets a tech thrown on him, I know he doesn't get tech thrown on him a lot, but I see him get angry at the refs. That's what I like to see, because in the past we've had coaches where they just stay seated and don't do a damn thing. So Willie. Those people that say fire Willie Green are absolutely freaking nuts. Those are probably the same people that I have to go at on Twitter saying, oh, yeah, we don't need Brandon Ingram. Really? I'm sure in this 3-game win streak, at some point we could have used Brandon Ingram as one of the closers. I mean, against the Jazz, he probably could have been a closer. Against the Suns, I mean, in the playoff series, he killed the Suns, Calvin. I mean, you and I both saw that. I was going to ask, what does this team need going forward? And I think you and I can both agree. We need Brandon Ingram back, right?
We need that, obviously. I mean, it's always tough when you got a guy who could give you 25 any given night out,
Exactly.
which I'm kind of getting slightly upset because they told me this was a bruised toe. A bruised toe shouldn't take like 2-3 weeks. It just shouldn't be a thing. So if something's up, they're not telling us. It's the old Michael Thomas trick here. This
Oh,
is
jeez.
the worst thing ever. But rebounding is an extreme issue because I don't know what's the problem with Jonas. Jonas is a great player, and Jonas can give you 25, 20 points if you let him do it, if you
Hmm.
feed him in there. And I don't think we utilize Jonas enough because we have him here, and it's like we just want him to sit there, play some deeps in the paint, or get out the way when Zion is there. We're not even utilizing his 3 ability. I mean, have him kick out on like a pick and pop, pick and fade, any of that. You can run that with Zion. Run a Zion and Jonas pick and roll. I'm telling you, it's going to be nice. I think Zion has the passing ability to be able to maybe throw a lob up.
He
Um,
does.
so start running that. Get creative. I don't think teams can stop that. And Jonas is starting to be deemed useless. And anytime there's OT or late in the game, Willie does not have Jonas out there, and I don't understand it. We go super small, and Larry Nance does all that he can. I mean, he is just giving. He's like our Josh Hart, man. He's giving everything he can, but he's the only one who can do it. No one else is rebounding, and it's sad to see because if we had like a Dwight Howard, if we had like a Mitch Robinson, if we had, Ivanka, what's his name, Ivanka Zubac. I mean, if we had guys like that who could just come off the bench and just give me a couple rebounds to handle this up because we are losing on rebounds. We're the second chance points. I think the Suns and the Jazz, they had like the Jazz on that second game. They had, I think they missed like 8 shots, but they got 6 of their own rebounds. I mean,
Yep.
that's insane. And Jonas wasn't even in the game, and that's why I'm looking at Coach like, Coach, you got the best rebound team. He's a walking double double. Put him in the game, please. I get it. He may be giving up something on defense, but you got to keep him out there. The shooting
Well,
also is really bad. I mean, this team, when you have a lineup of Dyson, Herb, Jonas, Zion out there, you are giving up a
a
lot of
lot of
people opportunity.
shooting.
Like the shooting is 0 to 9. I'm pretty sure Dyson took that last shot in the Suns game. Why? That's not okay. Dyson should never be taking the last shot in anything for 3. It's either Trey or CJ. That's all you got at this point. The shooting and Trey's having a slump. I think maybe it stems from when he got his finger or his wrist hurt a couple games ago, and he's just trying to play through it. Because we all know shooting is a very delicate thing that needs a lot of balance, and if something's off, pinky hurts, whatever, you're not going to be making your shots like you should. So the team needs to get rebounding and some shooting.
I actually agree with that, Calvin. I mean, there's players out there. I'm sure there's a free agent out there that we can use. I mean, Dwight Howard's over there overseas. I'm thinking China, Japan, Korea, one of them places. I don't. You probably remember. Is it Taiwan?
Taiwan.
Taiwan. I knew Taiwan. I was going to get eventually. I mean, Dwight Howard can come off the bench easily. I mean, he's not Orlando Magic Dwight Howard, but I mean, hell, imagine having probably a Hall of. He's not probably. He is a Hall of Famer eventually, a future Hall of Famer coming off the bench for you, and get you at least probably 8, 9 rebounds. I mean, Dwight Howard could probably get that in his sleep, but towards the end of this podcast, Calvin, we are at the wrap up portion because this is a short episode. This is the end of the year podcast. I mean, wow, what a ride, huh? I mean, shoot, we started, I think during training camp or before training camp. Now we're here in December where, oh, I forgot to mention the Pelicans play the Bucks tonight at home. At the time of the recording of this podcast, December 19th, 2022, Zion versus Giannis will be a great matchup. But again, we are at the wrap up portion, Calvin. So, before we head on out, is there anything that we did not talk about that you would just like, to get off your chest, or just anything from this past year? Just get off your chest before we head on out for the.
Shout out Messi. Shout out Mbappe. It's kind of funny. Before the World Cup started, somebody asked me. It's like people who are in sports betting. They asked me, "Man, who you got?" And I was like, "Oh, France. France is going in there." And like the odds for that was kind of crazy. It was like plus like 650 or something like that. You could have made some decent money off of that, just going to the finals. So I'm glad I was right that they went to the finals. They didn't get the win, but my boy Mbappe, he did what he could. He held the whole nation on his back. Um, but shout out Messi. He solidified his GOAT status. He finally got himself a World Cup. He just about got everything now. I mean, that was the last peg on his thing. So yeah, man. Shout out Messi. Congratulations to the man. He's a GOAT. Fire Dennis Allen. Jackson Hayes probably needs to get traded. Like right now, immediately, or teach him how to rebound so I can get something. The man's 6'11" and can't rebound. Don't understand it. And he's super athletic. I mean, that should be a walking double double, but he's not. Um, yeah, that's all I got. Go Pels. Who that? Uh, hope Saints lose out. I don't want to see Dennis Allen anymore. Pels need to get right. Start closing some games. CJ needs to keep playing like how he's playing. Well, actually, no. Play better because you scored 3 points in the last half. Not
Yeah.
okay. So be better. Stop acting old. Just act like Damian Lillard's next to you, please. And yeah, that's all I got.
And I probably am in agreement with most of that. Fire Dennis Allen. I say let's go sign Dwight Howard. Um, Go get Eric Bieniemy as head coach. Do whatever. I mean, hell, get rid of Dennis Allen no matter freaking what. And we will be back next year, you guys. We want to wish you a safe Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays, all of that good stuff. This has been a great edition of The Hit. We shall see you next year. Ta-ta.